Hey there, fellas. Frankie Day back again on YouTube. Today on YouTube, I have another collection of the builds of my past. Today's topic of YouTube featuring my P-40E Warhawk. This aircraft belongs to the American Volunteer Group under the command of General Clary Chennault. This aircraft right here, I made this airplane totally out of paper, fellas. There's no plastic, no wood, no metal, all nothing but paper. I obtained a set of plans from Model Builders magazine of a P-40 Warhawk, and what I did, I took those plans from there. I have them duplicated to the scale of 1/32 scale, and I using bulkhead formers and wing ribs and spars, which were made out of very heavy-duty Bristol board. I use them as if for interior strengthening for the skins. And the skins were all made from vanilla cardstock file folders, fellas. You can buy those at Office Max or any store that specializes in stationery hardware and such. And I had to use a lot of those as the templates to get the skins right and retrace them over again. So what I did, after getting the skins around the fuselage and around the wings, were all prefab by trial and error. And once I got the skins all traced out like the way I wanted them, I made patterns out of them, and using gloss colored cardstock, I went ahead and 60-pound cardstock I used on this. I went ahead and built the model from it. The airplane was airbrushed with thin down Aerogloss nitrate dope by Aerogloss dope, and I did that for his method to seal the pores in the cardstock to keep so that it'll hold paint. So I airbrushed this thing in the colors back in those days. It was like a light tan color, and with olive with dark green camouflage on there. I used masking tape, and I went ahead and made patterns for my camouflage. And right there is a 1/32 scale pilot that show proof of scale of the airplane. This thing's made out of paper, fellas. This thing took me about 2 months to build. Getting started on scratch build stuff is really fun for me. I enjoy. If I can't rely on kits, I go ahead and build from paper. But there's a lot of kits. Only 1/32 scale kit that I know of the time I built this model. I built this model, folks, about 30 years ago. The only 1/32 scale kit that I know of, that I was aware of, and I own right now, is down there in my bosun locker, packed away in a box somewhere, and I'll bring it up one of these times. We'll zoom in here a little bit. It's the Revell kit. The Revell makes the 1/32 scale one. So this is my paper model representation of the P-40E Warhawk. He's out of uniform, fellas. He's a Navy pilot. He came off of my TBF I have. And it's made out of paper, fellas. And the cardstock on this airplane used entirely, but using my vanilla file cover file folder cards as templates. I used them. I traced them over on a 60-pound gloss finished cardstock you can buy, and I went ahead and done that. And it's out of paper, fellas. Oh, looks like my damn cockpit came loose. Dang it! I'll fix it in a minute. I made the cockpit out of packing tape, fellas. I traced out the cockpit itself and cut out the squares using packing tape on top. Turn it over on the bottom on the other side. Packing tape, the same thing, and use Tetra cement right there. Glues it on the side of the paper. So if you're dealing with paper, folks, there's a lot of things you can do with it that can't be done with plastic. But one thing about paper is you mess up on paper, especially building a natural paper model like this right here. You can't use no filler putty on paper, folks. You know what happens from there? You make a mess. So the best thing to do is just start over again. Here's a close-up view of my naval pilot right there, standing up next to this Warhawk. This aircraft has the markings of the late great Gregory Pappy Boyington. He volunteered for the American Volunteer Group by 1940. because Chiang Kai-shek, the Japanese were in China for 10 years, raping and pillaging and killing all the poor Chinese folks out there. They call it the rape of Nanking, and Kai-shek, he wanted to make sure that if he got somebody in there, he'd pay him handsomely fees of flying for China. But those pilots got anywhere from $500 to $600 an airplane they shot down. So they made plenty of money back in those days. That was before America's entry in World War II. So this is Pappy Boyingtons airplane. He was credited for ground kills, but back at the time of war, the only way you can be paid for all that money is you got to make sure the airplane's in aerial combat, and as a confirmed kill to gain credit for money. So evidently, he considered in his own legend and his own method that these are aircraft on the ground, so he destroyed them, and so he considered them as kills. And so later on, as the war progressed, they added that in as kills to his victory markings. He was very mad about that and everything, and he didn't get paid for the claimed kills that he did on the ground. So evidently, when Pearl Harbor was declared, when World War II was declared due to Pearl Harbor, he went ahead and re-enlisted back in the Marine Corps, and he put him in with the VMF 248, his squadron, with the Black Sheep squadron that he had. So anyway, this is Pappy Boyington's aircraft right here. And it's a beautiful airplane. There you go. About time you fix that. It'll start becoming an eyesore right there. There you go, guys. Just sticks right back in there. You can tell it's paper. And it was a fun build, folks. It took 2 months to build. You just got to learn how to work with paper. When you're working with cones and stuff, you got to make petals and everything. You got to form them, burnish. There's a lot of work to card models when you build them. They got a lot of card model kits out there. I got a bunch. I got a whole pile of them too. So I'll probably be doing some card model builds as my videos progress. And we'll back off a little bit here. Here's Lord Ho-Ho right there with a cigar in his mouth and a big OK sign, give you a stamp of approval, and he's something else. Anyway, folks, this is my scratch-built 1/32 scale American Volunteer Group P-40E Flying Tiger by Curtiss Aircraft Company. The P-40 Flying Tiger was one hell of an airplane. It was probably one of our first, most successful pursuit ships that we had. It was introduced in the military by the Army Air Corps as early as 1939. And they were a very successful engine. The power plant on them, they had an Allison engine. And they had Allison engines in them throughout their career. They were actually considered obsolete by 1941. And they had more better stuff coming out, folks, like everything else nowadays. And even back then. And so a lot of them, the English got them, used them as Kitty Hawks, Tomahawks. And they were stationed in Burma. And they use them a lot. The Australians use them a lot as Kitty Hawks, and they're very successful. And they proved themselves very, very invulnerable with the Australian Army, the Australian Air Force, and also the Royal Air Force. They used them exclusively throughout the war. So the airplanes that we didn't need anymore, they used and made better use than what we did. So they stood up to their stamina. Well, folks, that's about it right there. And thank you very much for tuning in on my builds of the past. I have another special one for you for tomorrow. So stay tuned for my update build on Speedy 197's 1960 jet aircraft and prop aircraft. And I'll have an update in that.